how much of an influence do you think Bethel has on this current council? Because the three Bethelites are obviously on the board. Julie has made the point that her church and where she goes on her free time has nothing to do with her decisions on the board. Do you believe that Bethel is truly making decisions now in our community?
I do. There's a number of reasons why I think that. In no particular order, if you look at the last election, there were 10 candidates, 7 of whom were Bethel or Bethel related. Julie is clearly Bethel. The current council is clearly Bethel. Tenessa works for or teaches at the school, so that's 2 of them. And Jack freely admits that he goes there and his wife goes there, so that's 3. And they almost uniformly vote as a block on virtually everything. Is that direct evidence that the church is doing it? No. But can you reasonably infer from that they are? The answer is yes. I mean, one of the mandates of the 7 mountain mandates, I think, is to, I don't know if infiltrate's the right word, but to get influence in government, and that's what they're doing.
Now, do you think, in the way you spoke on Tuesday, as you said, kind of several years boiling over, do you believe, looking back at it now, that was the appropriate way to handle the situation, or do you stand by what you did there?
I acknowledge there was some frustration in there, but I stand by every word I said. I should have said BS instead of bull blank. Other than that, I firmly believe what I said. I've always been honest with what I've said to people and what I believe. And I've gotten a fair number of comments of people who said it's about time somebody said out loud in a public platform what a lot of the community believes, which is the influence that Bethel has and what they do. Let them show it's not their influence. I mean, just because I say it, that's my opinion. Let them show it's not, and they haven't. And there's other aspects to it, but I believe firmly Bethel has control over the city council, and they'll continue to get control.
All right. So everyone at least obviously has another year, this board together.
Mark and Julie have 1 more year, and then Tenessa, Jack, and I have just got elected, so we each have 3 more years.
I gotta just go back to last year. I forget things that happened 5 minutes ago.
No, I know.
My point in asking that is you are together as a group for the foreseeable future.
Well, unless Tenessa wins her election for Assembly District.
Right, Tenessa or Mark move on to bigger things.
Yes.
But, putting that aside, how do you move forward now that you've laid your cards out completely on the table, Michael? How do you move forward?
I have always felt that I've done what's in the best interest of the citizens of Reading, and I'll continue to do that. The statements that I made were not personal, they were observations. And if anybody takes it personally, that's their problem. It's not my problem. And you don't have, if you had 5 uniform votes on the council, you wouldn't need a council. You could have a monkey stamp what comes out from the staff and you wouldn't have to do anything. And that's not the purpose of it. I think that there are times where if Michael suggests it, the answer from the others is no. And I think that's unfortunate. I don't think they've listened to some of my suggestions as much as they should. But that's the way life goes. You take the vote and you go to the next thing. Just like we did the other night. I take the vote. Tenessa's the new mayor. I'm happy to work with her for however long she stays on the council, and assuming she doesn't get elected or doesn't spend too much time campaigning and really works for the city, I'm happy to work with all of them.
The other reason, outside of obviously the Bethel connection of the 3, as we were talking on the phone, another frustration you had for Tenessa being appointed was essentially that she skipped being vice mayor, which is typical in terms of moving towards mayor.
The normal progression is there are 3 positions. There's mayor, vice mayor, and mayor pro tem. And it's just like president, vice president, and the person after. If one person's not available, the person lower will sign a paper or do whatever needs to be done. I made a motion. Well, the normal progression would have been Mark, who was vice mayor, would go to mayor. Tenessa, who was mayor pro tem, would go to vice mayor. And then Jack would go to mayor pro tem. And I made that nomination. So Tenessa could have followed the normal course of proceedings and accepted that, and she voted no on that. She voted no, Jack voted no, and Julie voted no, which is some evidence that they were in cahoots.
Another argument, as I said to you on the phone as well, is that last year the normal progression was not followed because technically Mark should have been, this is according to them, it was supposed to be Mark's turn, but they went to you. What do you say to that?
I say it's bull. I say it's political stuff that Tenessa makes up for her own personal gain and that Julie goes along with it. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Julie wasn't vice mayor last year. I was vice mayor. And then I won elections handily, and they voted for me to be mayor. So when she's talking about Julie gave up the mayor position, it's just made up as far as I'm concerned.
What do you want the people to know about you and your job going forward on this board, regardless of your disagreements with the others?
Well, I intend to do what I've always done, which is to represent and vote in what I think is the best interest of the citizens of Reading. That's my job. And if I happen to agree with other council members and they agree with me, that's great. If we don't agree, we agree to disagree and move on to the next thing. That's your job. What bothers me about the vote for mayor is I don't think it was in the best interest of the citizens of Reading. Mark Mazzano got twice as many votes as Tenessa Audette did. He's put in his 3 years like he should, and he's the next one in line. And there is not one good reason why he shouldn't be the mayor. It's interesting, Julie seconded the motion, but she didn't say, this is why Mark shouldn't be the mayor. She just seconded the motion. I would like to hear them say what the reasons are and why Tenessa's a whole separate issue. In my personal belief, and it's just me personally, and anybody that runs for office, I wish them all the best. But I believe that she knew when she started to run for city council that she was going to run for the open seat that Megan Dolly's leaving at the state assembly. And I think she's using the city council election as a stepping stone. When you get elected for city council, you should stay on for 4 years unless you have some serious issue where you physically or mentally can't go do it, or you pass away or you get really sick. Otherwise, you should be there. And she's not. She was on 6 months and said, I'm running for state assembly. And now she's going to spend the next year being mayor and campaigning for state assembly. And the reason she wanted to be mayor was so she could put on the ballot statement, Mayor, City of Reading, and she could campaign on that. And that's just wrong. It's not in the best interest of the citizens of Reading. The right thing to do would have been to have Mark be the mayor, she be the vice mayor, and Jack be the mayor pro tem. There's an inference, if you look at how this went down, that the three Bethelites, or the Bethel juggernaut as I call it, which is just my own expression, it's not trademarked or patented or anything. I asked, when the matter first came up, I asked Julie, do you have a nomination? No. I asked Tenessa, do you have a nomination? No. I asked Jack, do you have a nomination? Yes. And he nominated Tenessa to be mayor and Julie to be vice mayor, and either him or Mark to be mayor pro tem. Later on in that meeting, Jack said, well, we want to have this. And then he said, I want to have this. Who was he talking about when he said we? How did they suddenly say, this is what we want to go do? It's unusual. Can I prove I violated the Brown Act? No. Does it really matter? No, because she's the mayor and I accept the decision. But does it look bad? Yes, it looks bad. And that's not good for the citizens of Reading. That's the problem. We're turning into the Board of Supervisors in some respects. And I don't think that's good for the citizens.
Well, I will say that I was quite dismayed, and I would expect the rest of the community would be as well. And it's fine to disagree with the decision. That we disagree on decisions, but to be vulgar, to slander an organization that has done a lot of good things for the community, and then to make bigoted comments because of our religious affiliation was pretty disturbing. I try to think what you would say, and we talked about this, if we had been Catholic, which the County Board of Supervisors, we had 4 of the 5 supervisors were Catholic, and I never heard anybody say, well, the Catholic Church is trying to take over the city, or there's a Catholic juggernaut. If we had been Jewish, would it have been the Jewish juggernaut? Or if we were gay, would it be the LGBT juggernaut? Or if we were Black, would he have made a derogatory comment about our vote because we were Black? So what his comments, his behavior was an actual violation of City of Reading employee workplace. It was harassment, and it was sad. We will move on from this for sure, but I would really like to see him come forward and apologize to the council. He owes the council an apology for his behavior. He also owes Bethel Church an apology for slander. And I would like to see him be great, make some sort of comment about gratefulness for what Bethel Church has done to the community, for the community, I should say. So that would be my position. We have a great council, and I'm looking forward to the next year. I think that I want to commend our newly elected mayor, Audette, for her behavior. After that, she graciously gave him recommendations and award for his service for the mayorship, and she did a beautiful job. I thought she was pretty gracious in a difficult situation. I think she's going to do a good job leading the council for the next year.
And why did you, speaking of, you chose Tenessa, obviously not I would imagine, because of her ties to Bethel Church. But as you said over the phone,
Right.
she's just a good leader.
She is a good leader. And I would like to just really make it clear that Bethel Church has no influence on my decision making at the council. There aren't agenda items that rarely affect Bethel Church. And if they have anything to do with Bethel Church, I recuse myself personally. So this has nothing to do with religious affiliation. I just believe that she's a good leader. She's doing a lot of great work in the community. And we as a council determine who we believe is going to be our leader, who we have confidence in. And I did not have confidence in Mark Mazzano to be our mayor this next year. And I believe in this circumstance that Tenessa Audette was a better choice.
And then you touched on it already, but I just want you to dive into it a little bit more. So yeah, moving forward, you have confidence as professionals, as people that have all now held the position for some amount of time, that you can move forward as a council.
Oh, I believe so. I believe so. We have a lot on our plate. I'm excited for the next year. We approved HIP money, grant funding for some solutions for homelessness. The council meeting prior, we approved $8 million in spending and maybe a day resource center for the homeless. So we've really got some good movement, I believe, for that situation, which is of concern to a lot of the community. The community is really beginning to get engaged on the riverfront specific planning process, and I'll be excited to see that move forward in the next year. So there's lots of great things on our plate. We've got some new leadership in our directors and some big public works projects. So I think it's going to be a great year. My hope moving forward this next year is that we would have decorum, that we would have professional conduct, that we would not break into vulgar comments or make bigoted comments, that we would actually treat each other with respect moving forward. That would be my hope. And I hope that our leadership would model that, because that is really critical for our citizens and for the people in the audience. So regarding the mayor rotation, there is some history in typical ways that the mayor is rotated. Typically, it would be the person who got the most vote, followed by the person who got the second most vote, and so typically what happens, like in this last election, Michael Dacquisto got the most votes. So his rotation for mayor should have been in the third year, would it be 2025 actually. And so Mark Mazzano should have been the mayor last year. I should have been the mayor this year if you had gone by historical precedent. So Dacquisto was actually out of turn in being the mayor. He was given the vice mayor position in his last year on the council from his previous term, as I believe, for a variety of reasons, but I believe the council at that time didn't believe he was going to run again. So I would just say that the mayor, we have changed it up numerous times in the last few years based on what we believe is best for the council. And so based on what I have experienced on the council, I believe that Tenessa Audette was the best leader for this next year.